Hello and welcome to Fantasy Football by Ben. Today, I'll be talking about my Week 12 Fantasy Football rankings. I'll be doing my quarterback and running back today. I hope you enjoy. So number 1, I have Russell Wilson at the Eagles. Now, this game's on Monday night, and it should be a great game. The Eagles defense has been pretty bad against the pass this year, which getting Darius Slay I thought would help them, but it hasn't really helped them much. People just don't go Darius Slay's way. And I think this could be a really big game for Russell Wilson this week. And number 2, I have Patrick Mahomes at Buccaneers. Buccaneers have a tough defense, and most quarterbacks are pretty average against the Buccaneers defense. Not great, not bad. But I think Patrick Mahomes is pretty much every week starter, so I think that this is a good week for Patrick Mahomes, even against a tough defense like the Buccaneers. And number 3, I have Josh Allen versus the Chargers. Chargers are a pretty tough defense too. They have some injuries. They're banged up all over the place. So I think that Josh Allen could take advantage of the Chargers defense this week. I think he could have a big week. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in for a rushing touchdown or something, which could improve his week as well. And number 4, I have Deshaun Watson at Lions, which is this Thursday. And so I like Deshaun Watson this week. He's coming off a really, really great week last week, and I think that he could have another big week this week. And the Lions are not a very good defense, and so I think this could be a big week for Deshaun Watson for a second week in a row. And number 5, I have Justin Herbert at Bills. Justin Herbert's also coming off of a very good week, and so the Bills' defense has kind of also been mediocre, and they haven't been very good against quarterbacks, actually, the last couple weeks. And so I do like Justin Herbert this week going up against the Bills' defense this week. Next, I have Kyler Murray at number 6 at the Patriots. And so I think the Patriots have a pretty solid defense, and Kyler Murray's been very solid this year. And so I do think that his shoulder injury might hurt him this week, but I still think that you're starting Kyler Murray if he plays no matter what. So I have Kyler Murray at 6, just hoping that he is okay and plays well. At number 7, I have Aaron Rodgers versus the Bears. This is a divisional game, and it's going to be snowing most likely. I think this could be a really big game for Aaron Rodgers. And, the Bears' defense is phenomenal, but I still think this could be a really big game for Aaron Rodgers this week. I'm at number 7. At number 8, I have Derek Carr at Falcons. This is probably the highest I'm ever going to have Derek Carr in my rankings, like this season. The Falcons just are awful against quarterbacks, and so I think this could be a really big week for Derek Carr. So I do like him this week, and I have him at number 8, just because some quarterbacks have tough matchups this week, and so I moved him down quite a bit. At number 9, I have Matt Ryan versus the Raiders. The Raiders secondary didn't look great last week. They got a big, huge miscommunication, and Patrick Mahomes threw a touchdown to Travis Kelce to win, and so I think this could be a really big week for Matt Ryan, potentially. He's got a lot of weapons on the outsides, and so I think this could be a really big week for Matt Ryan. At number 10, I have Tom Brady versus the Chiefs. Chiefs defense has been getting good pressure on QBs, and Tom Brady this year, for some reason, hasn't been able to handle the pressure very well, and so when he's been getting pressure, he makes a lot of mistakes, and last week he threw 3 interceptions, and so I don't know if I trust Tom Brady completely this week, but I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game because they kind of need to have a high-scoring game to keep up with the Chiefs. And so I think this could be a big week for Tom Brady, potentially. I've made my top 10 quarterbacks this week. At number 11, I have Lamar Jackson at Steelers, which that game might be moved to Sunday. I don't know because of COVID. And so as of right now, it's on for Thursday, but it could be moved to Sunday. And so I have Lamar Jackson at 11. I do think that the Steelers' defense is one of the top defenses in the league, if not the top defense in the league. So I think this is going to be a tough game for Lamar Jackson. And so I ranked him a little bit lower. The first time they played the Steelers, Lamar Jackson didn't play very well. And so I think the Steelers' defense has gotten better even since then. So this could be a really tough defense to go against if you're Lamar Jackson. But there's always the opportunity of him rushing in for a touchdown or rushing for 100 yards, so I have him at number 11. At number 12, I have Ben Roethlisberger versus the Ravens. Like I was saying with Lamar, this game could be moved to Sunday. Don't know yet. But Big Ben is a tough quarterback, and I think that this could be a really big week for him because he likes to throw the ball, and I don't know how great the Ravens secondary has been, and the Steelers receivers have been amazing this year, and so I do think that this could be a big week for Big Ben, who's coming off a game where he just threw 35 passes it was like 40 passes, and they blew out the Jaguars. He didn't even need to throw them any passes. At number 13, I have Cam Newton versus the Cardinals. Cam Newton always has the opportunity to run in for a touchdown, so I think he's going to have a big week, and he just threw for over 350 yards, so I think Cam Newton's a pretty solid quarterback to play this week, and I like him over some tougher matchups going down further in the list. At number 14, I have Carson Wentz versus the Seahawks, which is the Monday night game. And so, Seahawks defense has not been very good this year, but they did do really well last week against Kyler Murray. And so, I moved Carson Wentz down a little bit just because I'm wondering if the Seahawks defense is finally starting to figure things out. And so, I think that this could be either a really big week for Carson Wentz or a really bad week for Carson Wentz, but I'm really hoping it's a really big week for Carson Wentz this week. I have my number 14. At number 15, I have Taysom Hill at Broncos. The Broncos have been mediocre against quarterbacks this year, and I mean, last week the Broncos did fine against Tua. I mean, he got taken out of the game, and Ryan Fitzpatrick came in, but I mean, I think that it's a problem that Drew Lock puts the defense into positions to be not successful, and so I do think that the Broncos, if they turn the ball over a couple times against the Saints defense, that this could be a rushing game for Taysom Hill or a big rushing game for Alvin Kamara or passing game for Taysom Hill. I think it just could be a big game for Taysom Hill this week. At number 16 this week, I have Teddy Bridgewater at Vikings. I do think that this is going to be a really big week for Teddy Bridgewater. If you haven't watched my bold prediction video yet, you should go watch that. I do think this is going to be a really big week for Teddy Bridgewater. And last week, Andy Dalton looked phenomenal against the Vikings secondary, so I do think this is going to be a big week for Teddy Bridgewater. And I expect him to have a big week this week. That's why I made the bold prediction. And, I mean, DJ Moore's looked really good. Robbie Anderson looked really good. And Curtis Samuel looked really good last week for their backup quarterback, PJ Walker. So I do think this could be a really big week for Teddy Bridgewater. I like Teddy Bridgewater this week. I have my number 16. At number 17, I have Matthew Stafford versus the Texans. Texans defense hasn't been that great, and Cam Newton threw for over 350 yards against them last week, and Matthew Stafford's starting to get his weapons back slowly, so I think this could be a really big game for Matthew Stafford. I have my number 17. I like his matchup this week. At number 18, I have Ryan Tannehill at Colts. First time they played the Colts, Ryan Tannehill had a really good game, but they lost. But still, I mean, Ryan Tannehill is a pretty much must-start at this point, and going on for the rest of the season, I think Ryan Tannehill is going to be a top 15 quarterback, so I have a number 18 this week. I think it's a great play. At number 19, I have Alex Smith at Cowboys. So last week, the Cowboys played against Kirk Cousins, and he threw the ball very well. Threw for a couple touchdowns, and I think that Alex Smith could have a big week this week. I'm at number 19. I do like Alex Smith's matchup, so that's probably why I ranked him there, but at the same time, I also like who he has on the outsides and who he's been throwing to, and I think they could be behind potentially in this game, and so they could throw a little bit more than they had to do last week. At number 20, I have Tua at Jets. So the Jets last week looked horrible against Justin Herbert. He could make any throw he wanted to. Keenan Allen had 16 catches, so I think that Tua could have a big week against the Jets this week, and I expect him to. I think it's going to be a big week for all of the Dolphins guys. I think that the Jets have been scoring really well, and so I think this could be a better scoring game than what people would expect. And, I mean, Miami's defense has been really good, so maybe it's going to be a lower scoring game for the Jets, but I do think that they're going to want Tua to get more comfortable, so then maybe they'll make him throw more this week. Starting off with the running backs for Week 12, I'll be talking about Dalvin Cook versus the Panthers. Dalvin Cook last week had a rushing touchdown. We're pretty much used to that by now. He's leading the league in rushing touchdowns. So, against the Panthers defense that's not very good against the run, I think this could be a really big week for Dalvin Cook again. And so I like him this week against the Panthers. And number 2, I have Nick Chubb at Jaguars. Like I was talking about when I was saying about Baker, I do think that the Jaguars are very bad against the run and the pass, so I do think that they're known as a bad defense. And so I do like Nick Chubb against them this week, and I have him at number 2 because I think he can just run all over them. He's run over for 100 yards in the last 2 weeks that he's played now, and so I do think that this could be another big week for Nick Chubb. Number 3, I have Derrick Henry at Colts. Derrick Henry was the only 100-yard rusher in 2.5 seasons for the Colts. And so, Colts are a really good run defense, but Derrick Henry pretty much just gets any touch. And especially if they're up in this game, which they might be, you never know. I do think that Derrick Henry could run the ball a lot this week. And number 4, I have Alvin Kamara at Broncos. So the problem with Alvin Kamara is Taysom Hill takes away a lot of his work, and he's been taking away a lot of his work. And so I do find it okay, I guess, but at the same time, we're so used to Alvin Kamara getting so many touches, and at one point he was leading the league in receptions, and he's pretty much close to leading the league in rushing yards, but now his rushing yards have dipped off, and he has 600 receiving yards this year, so obviously the receiving yards aren't really dipped off that much, but I think this could be a big week for Alvin Kamara, potentially, especially if they do get up in this game. I do think that we're going to see a lot more Alvin Kamara, but Taysom Hill will be also a factor into the week. At number 5, Josh Jacobs at Falcons. Josh Jacobs is pretty much just a guy that is just going to get touches. And the Falcons are not bad against the run, by any means. And I do think that this could be a dud game for Josh Jacobs, but if you have him, he's probably running back 1, and I think it's a solid start I think Josh Jacobs is a solid start this week. I've been running back 5. At number 6, I have Aaron Jones versus the Bears. Bears are a really tough run defense, and this could be a really bad game for Aaron Jones, but, he's so utilized in the passing game, and he's such a big part of that offense that I do think Aaron Jones can have a big game, even against a tough run defense. Maybe not rushing the ball, but also receiving, or he'll get you a touchdown potentially as well. At number 7 this week, I have Ezekiel Elliot versus the Washington football team. So, Washington football team has been really solid against the run this year, and Ezekiel Elliott's coming off of his best game. I do think that Zeke could be utilized in the passing game more than potentially last week he was, and so I do think that this could be a really big week for Zeke, and I do think that he will rush. So Zeke's going to get touches no matter what, and so pretty much you're going to start him no matter what. But I do think that this could be a good week for Ezekiel Elliott. I have at number 7. At number 8, I have James Robinson versus the Browns. So last week, the Browns, their game was just such a bad game all around. Carson Wentz was throwing picks left and right. Miles Sanders fumbled. It just wasn't a really good game, and the Browns' defense is very solid. And so I think that this could be an interesting game from James Robinson. He doesn't really catch a whole lot of balls out of the backfield with Luton, but they announced that there's going to be a new quarterback, so I think that this could be a big week for James Robinson, potentially, because the guy might get scared and throw little short passes off to James Robinson, which is kind of what Gardner Minshew did. And so I think this could be a big week for James Robinson. At number 9, I have Miles Sanders versus the Seahawks. I think that this could be a big game for Miles Sanders. He hasn't really been had a big game since he's come back, and so I think this could be his breakout game. I do think they're going to give him a lot more touches this week, and so I think he could be a big part of their offense, but they're going to need to score, so I think that potentially he might catch more passes than we've seen this season. At number 10, I have Antonio Gibson at Cowboys. Cowboys' rush defense has not been very good this year, and so I think Antonio Gibson, this could be just another big week where he has 2 touchdowns again. I like Antonio Gibson this week against the Cowboys, and I think that I mean, he's getting, like, him and McKissick are splitting 50-50 touches or 50-50 snap count. So I think that with Gibson getting whatever 15 touches a game, I think that he does with it well, and he gets touchdowns. So I think Gibson's a good play this week against the Cowboys. At number 11, I have my next bold prediction: Todd Gurley versus the Raiders. Todd Gurley this year has been mediocre. He's only averaging 3.6 yards per carry. He hasn't looked great except for one game this year. I mean, and he looked really great that one game. And I, in my bold prediction, said I think that Todd Gurley, this is going to be his game where he averages over 5 yards a carry and he gets in for 2 touchdowns. I'm not disagreeing with it. I have Todd Gurley at number 11 because I do think that he's going to do that. And he's got a really good shot. The Raiders just gave up 3 rushing touchdowns last week, like I said in my bold prediction. And I do think that this is going to be a good week for Todd Gurley. I have at number 11. At number 12, I have DeAndre Swift versus the Texans. So, DeAndre Swift is in concussion protocol, and I don't know if he's passed it yet or anything, but I do like DeAndre Swift this week, and I think that if he plays, he's pretty much a running back 1 this week. So, I have him at number 12. I think he's a very solid play against Texans defense that's just not been very good against the run this year. At number 13, I have Kareem Hunt at Jaguars. Jaguars are really bad against the run. Like I said with Nick Chubb, I do think they're going to hand the ball off a lot, and Nick Chubb doesn't take all of the work, and so I think this could be a big game for Kareem Hunt as well. And Kareem Hunt had a rushing touchdown last week, which Nick Chubb did not. I do think that they both can produce in this offense, so I do like them both this week. I have Kareem Hunt at number 13. At number 14, I have Austin Ekeler / Kalen Ballage. I'm not sure which one's going to play yet. Austin Ekeler hasn't practiced that I know of yet. But I do expect Austin Ekeler to be back this week, so I'm going to say about Austin Ekeler, but it could be Kalen Ballage. I would have him pretty much in the exact same spot, maybe a little bit lower if it's Ballage, but with Austin Ekeler, when he played with Herbert, he just caught a lot of passes and he looked good, so I do think that when Austin Ekeler comes back, if it's this week or next week, I do think that he's pretty much a running back, high-end running back 2, low-end running back 1 kind of player. So I do like Austin Ekeler this week against the Cardinals. At number 15, I have James Conner versus the Ravens. Ravens' run defense has been okay, but it kind of lacked when Calais Campbell went down. I don't know if Calais Campbell's going to be back, and so I think this could be another big game for James Conner coming off of one where he had a pretty big game. He ran for over 80 yards, so I think it was a pretty solid game for James Conner, and so I have a number 15. Hopefully he can get in the end zone this week. At number 16, I have Mike Davis at Vikings. So Vikings haven't been very good against the run this year, and Mike Davis is coming off of a very good game in a very long time, and so this could be another big game for Mike Davis, but I do think that getting in the end zone last game was kind of lucky for him, because otherwise he wouldn't have really done too much with his day. But hopefully he gets in the end zone again and he gets you running back 16 production. I have Mike Davis at 16 this week. At number 17, I have Salvon Ahmed at Jets. And the Jets are horrible against the run. And, Ahmed touched all of their passes in the backfield last week. And so I do think that he's going to be utilized more this week. And so I think this could be a really big week for Ahmed. At number 18, I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire at Buccaneers. Buccaneers are really tough against the run. And, last week, if you watched the game, was it Monday? Yeah, against the Rams. The Rams could not run against them. And I do think that this could be a big game for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but it might take a lot of carries. And I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is going to look to hand off the ball instead of throwing the ball, because it might be a pretty high-scoring game. At number 19, I have Jonathan Taylor versus the Titans. Titans' run defense has been really bad this year. And I do think Jonathan Taylor is kind of working his way back up to that role where he was the starter. And so, I like Jonathan Taylor this week against Titans, who are just not a great run defense. At number 20, I have Duke Johnson at Lions. Lions are the worst run defense in the NFL. So, Duke Johnson should have a big week, but he hasn't really done anything this year. So, this last couple weeks when he's been the starter. So I don't know if we can expect too much out of Duke Johnson this week, even against the worst run defense in the league. At number 21, I have Wayne Gallman at Bengals. Wayne Gallman, the Bengals are just not good, and Wayne Gallman, when he's been playing, he's been scoring touchdowns. So I do think Wayne Gallman is a very good play this week. And so I have him at a running back 2, low-end running back 2. And so I do think that Wayne Gallman's a really good play this week against the Bengals defense that just isn't that great against the run. And Wayne Gallman gets touches, so I think Wayne Gallman's just a good play. At number 22, I have Ronald Jones versus the Chiefs. Chiefs have not been good against the run at all. And Josh Jacobs got a really early rushing touchdown, but then never really touched the ball a whole lot after that. And so I do think this could be a big game for Ronald Jones, but I think if it's going to be a really high-scoring game, then this isn't going to be a Ronald Jones kind of game, but I have him ranked 22nd right now. I do think he's a solid play this week. At number 23, I have Giovani Bernard versus the Giants. I do think that Giovani Bernard is their lead back, but I also think that he's kind of been taken down in that role a little bit. But and especially with Joe Burrow being out, I don't know if they're going to stack the box. I think that they possibly could because, who's their quarterback? He's probably not amazing, and they're probably not expecting him to be as good as Joe Burrow. So I do think that the Giants could try to stack the box against Giovani Bernard or P. Ryan. So I do think that would lower Bernard's value, especially out of the backfield. I don't know if he's going to get as many balls, but he might be like a safety valve guy. But this week I moved Giovani Bernard down a little bit. Number 24, I have Kenyan Drake at Patriots. Kenyan Drake has been solid the last couple weeks that he's played, and so I do like him. And the Patriots have not been good against the run, but I do think that Kyler Murray does take away a lot of value out of Kenyan Drake, and also so does Chase Edmonds. So Kenyan Drake's kind of limited. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he's not really super fantasy relevant. And I think this could be a big week for Kenyan Drake, but we'll see. At number 25, I have Damien Harris versus the Cardinals. Damien Harris is going to get, I think, a big workload, especially with Rex Burkhead being out for the rest of the season. I think this could be big Damien Harris rest of season kind of thing. And so I have him ranked 25th this week against the Cardinals. Cardinals haven't been amazing against the run or anything, but Damien Harris is just a runner, so he doesn't catch balls out of the backfield. So I do think that lowers his value a little bit this week, and so going forward as well. So I have him at 25 this week. He's still a solid play. He got a rushing touchdown last week. Don't expect that every week. Cam Newton will probably take a couple of them, but I do like Damien Harris this week. I have him at number 25 against the Cardinals. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you do, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on the post notifications so you get a post notification every time that I post. Also, thank you for the support. Comment down below any questions or stuff. I'll answer it. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video. Have a great day. Peace.